Welcome, Jessica, to the Brand Innovators Super Bowl Marketing Summit.
Great.
Happy to have you here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Today, we are going to be having a conversation around building iconic brands and how we're going to do that through connection, personalization, trust. No better stage to do that on than at the big game Super Bowl weekend, and no better person to have this conversation with than with you, Jessica Adelman, SVP of Corporate Brand Reputation at Mars Inc.
Great. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here and I'm looking forward to it. Let's get started.
Yes, that sounds great. Let's talk about this moment and what it means for Mars Snacking actually now is I think the official new name, right?
That's right. That's right. We've gotten a little, more diversified in our categories and our portfolio.
Congratulations.
Very excited to add brands like Pringles and Cheez-Its and Pop-Tarts and so many wonderful brands to our portfolio.
And I see we have a big one on.
Well, obviously the OG,
the most iconic.
It
yes.
is one of the world's most recognized brands, and it's truly a privilege to get to work on brands like this that are this exciting and this relevant.
Yes. Talk to me about what the big game means for Mars Snacking. I know you've done for a long time a lot of participation through whether it's Snickers. It sounds like we have another maybe commercial spot this weekend that we'll be debuting. What does this moment mean for Mars Snacking?
Yeah, so I've long believed that the biggest brands deserve to be in the biggest moments. And there's no bigger stage that takes place than the big game. I think last year the Super Bowl was the most live action watched event in U.S. history, which is incredible if you really think about it.
Yes.
So, to have everybody's eyes in the same place and to be participating in a moment together as, a community and as a group of fans is really exciting. And we think that that's exactly where our Mars Snacking brand should be.
Love that. Love that. I love that you speak about being fans of fans at Mars. I think that's so cute. Talk to me about what that means, fans of fans, because I think consumers are truly at the center of everything.
Absolutely. So we like to say that we are consumer obsessed.
Yes.
I know that a lot of good brands and companies feel that way, and we would totally agree. And, we will not be able to have our iconic brands and this long runway that we've been able to, aspire to and participate in the business world if we didn't have individuals or consumers out there who weren't wildly passionate about our brands. And we are so grateful for all of our brand fans, and we're fans of fans.
Yeah, I love that. We talk about being consumer obsessed all the time. And so that's such an important focus and everything at the center of, what decisions you make and what you do. Your brands are truly iconic. I think when you look up iconic brands, you will see M&M's right there at the first page of that. Mm-hmm. When you think about, especially specific to your role, which I'd love to dig into, when you think about building these iconic brands and the responsibility for, some of these brands are over 100 years old. Talk to me about what that means. These are just like generations of brands that you're building upon. How do you handle that as a company?
Well, one thing that's very interesting about Mars is we are privately held and we're family owned. And what that means is we get to think in generations, not in quarters. And that is truly a luxury. I've worked in a couple public companies and I've worked in 2 privately held companies. And it is a very different perspective when you are playing the long game. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you tend to think about what are my actions that I want to be proud of. Mm-hmm. And we like to say at Mars, our purpose is around, the world we want tomorrow starts with how we do business today. And that includes how we take care of and steward our brands and how we show up in the biggest, in the biggest moments and around the world.
Everyday moments too.
Everyday moments. Absolutely.
Yeah. When I would love to unpack, your role is reputation building and senior vice president of reputation building. That's a pretty cool title. What does that mean when you think about these, generations of brands and messaging? Like, how do you maintain a reputation, and what's at risk for these brands too?
Well, I think it all has to do with trust. It comes back to, do consumers trust a brand and a company to be an integral part of their lives? There's a proliferation of consumer choice out there. Mm-hmm. So in order to win the consumer every day, you have to be an organization and a company where they want to support what you stand for. And the brands represent values and that aspect of trust. So when we think about how we look over the entire portfolio, what we do behind the scenes really matters as well, whether it's a net zero by 2050 goal that we have, or some of our commitments that we have around packaging, et cetera. Those are things that are important to us to make sure that consumers know, because we are thinking about the long haul. And being in charge of reputation means making sure that all of our stakeholders understand the role that we play and are appreciative and welcome us into their worlds.
Yeah. We are a rewards destination at Fetch. And, you know, for us, trust is the core of what we do. Brands truly like Mars are present in our app every day, connecting with their consumers, rewarding them, creating these experiences. But at the center of that relevancy and trust has to be there, that exchange, right? That value exchange. And you and I were talking about our shared value exchange of that consumer obsession. People sharing a lot of information with you and with platforms like ours where they're telling us what they buy and how they spend their money. How do you translate that into kind of how you direct the brands on like where Mars shows up, Mars Snacking shows up? Because you have a pretty big weekend ahead of you.
We do.
Yeah. How are you making those decisions on, you know, maintaining reputation and where you guys show up on what platforms and partners?
Yeah, so Snickers has had a long relationship with the NFL. In fact, we've had a 20-year partnership with the NFL. And what we try to do is activate around many dimensions of our NFL experience. So we have a Snickers ice cream presence. We also, of course, have great partnerships with the athletes themselves.
Yep.
Not just the creative ads, but also real relationships with the athletes who, many of whom have shown up at our factories to bring joy and fun to the folks who make the Snickers bars and our products every day. And let me tell you, you don't get more excited than when Roma Dunze shows up at your ice cream factory, or Marshawn Lynch, who's a huge Skittles fan, shows up where we make all the Skittles. So our associates really connect with that. And that's the type of mutuality, which is one of our important 5 principles, that mutual relationship that we try to enjoy with our partners. Yeah. And Snickers the NFL is one of them with Snickers. And you all are one of them with Fetch.
Yeah. We have 3.5 years of partnership under our belts and hopefully many more to come in the future. I think that shared connection with the consumer and really just treating everybody as an individual. You and I were speaking about, you know, the role of just like the kids are expecting to be spoken to authentically and personalized. When you walk in the door of any app, if you walk into Fetch, it's going to look different for you versus me. You just got a new pet.
I did, Polly. She's very spoiled.
So all over your Fetch app, you are going to be rewarded for lots of things for Polly.
For Polly.
That's food or treats.
Well, I'll probably buy all of them because, like I said, she's very spoiled.
Yes. But, you know, that expectation as a marketer and then as a brand, you know, we want to make sure, one, that we're driving profitability for our brand partners, but we do that through rewarding everyday purchases and rewarding how they spend their time. And they're bringing us a lot of their time. Same with you. They're bringing you into their homes.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about personalization for you all and what that means.
Well, we do a lot of it with groups just like yours, like with Fetch. And that's been a fantastic partner for us to sort of bridge into the way that consumers interact with different platforms these days. And, you know, one thing that I think is so exciting, I've had a 30-year career in the food and agriculture industry, and there's this element of the true, which has, you know, where did the brands come from? What are these products that we've grown up with and we've welcomed into our home? But you have to pair the true with the new. Yeah. And, you know, companies like Fetch and platforms like Fetch and the way that we can show up for consumers in different aspects and in different areas of their daily life, just to make sure that they have even better moments with our brands through our partnerships is exactly what we're here for.
Yes, we celebrate a lot of moments with you. One being Halloween is one of our biggest moments. We'll talk about that in a minute, but talk to me about this weekend, whatever you can share about maybe what's happening, maybe some live action happening.
Yes, we have some live action. I mentioned Skittles a few minutes ago, and we are doing an activation around the big game. We have the Skittles Horn of Plenty, and it is an interesting event where if, you know, one lucky fan is going to have a live action commercial delivered to their front yard, and that will be acted out by the Elijah Wood. He's a fabulous actor, a lovely person too. He's been a delight to work with. So we're going to bring an entire live action commercial to a single fan during the big game. And I think it's very consistent with Skittles' brand, which
Fun.
is to be sort of pleasantly perplexing. And when other brands zig, Skittles likes to zag and do something unexpected.
Cute. Yeah. Cute. That is a sticky, very sticky user experience. I imagine you're going to get some strong fans out of that one.
I think so. And I think that's a real brand win is when people are talking about your brand long after the actual big game or, long after the final play has been called and the trophy's been handed out. Are they still talking about your brand and how interesting and funny and unique it was?
And how relevant. I mean, and you fit into like that fandom, like you said, in a really cool way. Fetch ran a commercial last year. It was a live stream in the last 2 minutes. It was really fun, but boy, doing something live.
It is nerve-wracking.
Talk about reputation building. You're right on the line.
I had all these like last minute panics that I was asking the team. Just sort of the nervous mom in me was like, how do we know that the fan's going to be home?
Yes.
How do we know that, how do we know that Mr. Wood knows all of his lines and is ready to do the commercial? They're like, well, he's a professional and we checked and it's just those last minute things, but doing things live is very IRL.
That is very IRL, and it's authentic too, which I think is also something that the brands are wanting to show up in a really authentic, true way to them, which is cool to have these platforms and stages to do that kind of work.
Yep, very quirky, but that's what the brand is all about for Skittles, and we've gotten a lot of great conversations started about the activation around the big game.
So fun. Let's talk about Halloween really quick before we wrap up, because we would be remiss.
Absolutely.
You really own that season. And I love how you position when we talk about moments and how important moments are to your business. Let's talk about what Halloween means to you all.
Well, it kind of means everything in so many ways, right? I mean, it's the biggest time of the year for candy. And that's a huge part of our portfolio. It also happens to be a time in society where communities are coming together, people are out and about, and they're connecting in different ways. And that has been such an important aspect of what our brands mean to people. It's a way for them to connect and to share. So we have really taken a new approach to the seasons, and Fetch and partnerships help us really think about the seasonality aspect of our business. But we really like to actually highlight the fact that in some cases, the candy for Halloween starts rolling off the line Memorial Day. Yeah. We do our first run of Halloween candy.
That's summer for the folks at home.
Right, exactly. So that is almost before summer.
Correct.
And we have started a new tradition of having a summer holiday called Halfway to Halloween. And that is celebrated at Topeka, which we have deemed the Halloween capital of the world. And everybody comes out. It's a big media event. And we celebrate the fact that we are halfway to the Halloween holiday. And it actually kicks off a whole new season that effectively we've created, which is called Summerween. And it gets the consumer excited about the fall and nostalgic, but forward nostalgia, where they start planning for their fall celebrations and getting their heads around the exciting series of holidays that we have to offer.
So fun. Well, we love being your partner in that. We love talking about Halloween, and we start rewarding users and Fetch users and Mars customers starting in the summer as well throughout that whole season. So we will surprise and delight them.
Good.
And we're going to retain them and just hold them on and acquire them throughout the whole season.
Hold them close.
So,
That's great.
Yes, we will. Well, it's wrapping up on time. It would be really fun to hear a couple of lightning round quick things before we end. But are you a Skittles or Snickers?
I have to go with the chocolate. I like the Snickers.
Snickers. Okay. Are you Iams or Sheba?
Ooh, since I have a puppy, it's Iams. Not a Sheba person, but it's a great cat food if you do have a cat.
Beach or mountain?
Mountain, for sure. I can't wait because the Olympics are starting up.
Yes.
And they have a whole new sport, which is my favorite sport, called ski mountaineering, where you actually race up the hill and then you ski down. And my husband and I are crazy enough to do that out in the mountains of Colorado. So I don't know, maybe I have an Olympic future.
Oh, I see a medalist in our future.
It could be, Carmen.
All right.
And then
story. Last one, just because we have to, Seahawks or the Pats?
Well, this is a tough one. I just hope that the best team wins, but I think probably I'm going to have to go for that 12th man. The Seattle Seahawks are kind of fun, and they've looked really, really good this season. So, congrats to the winner. And no matter where you are, no matter who you're cheering for, as long as you're celebrating and enjoying the big game together with family, friends, snacking, then you're going to have a great time.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much for the conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Carmen.
Thanks.